Have you ever said something inappropriate and immediately watched everyone cringe? Well, I've been there too. But after a ton of awkward moments, and I mean a ton, I realized that awkwardness isn't a personality problem. It's just that no one ever taught you these powerful tricks you can use in your social interactions, and they'll help you avoid those embarrassing moments. Before we get into the actual tricks, you need to understand something fundamental. Why do people act awkward in the first place? Here's the thing. When you're in a social situation and you feel uncomfortable, your brain goes into what I call self-monitoring mode. It starts obsessing over every word you say, every gesture you make, how you look, and this is the trap. The more you focus on yourself, the more anxious you become. The more anxious you become, the more awkward you seem. It's a vicious cycle. So, to break out of this loop, the first trick is to be intentional with your body language. Why start here? Because the way you carry yourself can completely change the tone of a conversation. When you're anxious, your body closes up. Hunched shoulders, crossed arms, no eye contact. Your body is literally telling the world, I'm uncomfortable. But here's what most people don't realize. When your body looks confident, people around you start feeling confident too. They relax, they're easier to talk to, and that makes you relax even more, reducing awkwardness on both sides. So, pay attention to your posture. Keep your shoulders open, maintain steady but friendly eye contact, and use gestures that convey confidence and openness. The small details matter too. A genuine smile, a well-modulated tone of voice, natural hand movements that match your words, without overdoing it, of course. All these elements communicate much more than you think. Studies show that over 55% of what we convey comes through body language, and just 7% through words. Trick number 2, shift your attention. When you're embarrassed, trying not to be embarrassed won't work. Instead of focusing on yourself, shift your attention to the other person by asking simple questions about them or what they're saying. Imagine you find out the person you're talking to grew up in a different country than you. You could ask something like, what was your experience like there? Or what made you move? The key is to make your questions feel natural and driven by genuine curiosity, not like you're conducting an interview. You can also sprinkle in small personal details between questions to create a sense of authentic exchange. If the other person responds depth, keep following that thread with more follow-up questions to dig deeper into it. This keeps you grounded in the real conversation, not the one in your head, and paradoxically makes you seem much more confident. Trick number 3, using humor strategically. When we say something awkward, 50% of the time we try to change the subject and pretend nothing happened. 30% of the time we just walk away, and the remaining 200% we keep talking and make it even worse. Humor is one of the most powerful tools to defuse tension after an embarrassing comment. Self-deprecating lines like, my brain clearly decided to take a break, can instantly lighten the mood and transform a cringe-worthy moment into a genuine connection with others. Trick number 4, watch for social cues. When we talk about social cues, we're referring to all the nonverbal messages people constantly exchange during interactions. Why are they so important? Simple. Because if you learn to recognize and interpret them correctly, you'll know exactly how to respond. Here's a common example. You're hanging out with someone and you make a joke about something sensitive, but you don't notice that the other person gives a forced laugh or looks away. You've made them uncomfortable, but they're too polite to tell you directly, so they're sending you signals with their body. If you don't pick up on these signs, you'll just keep digging yourself deeper into an awkward situation. Learning to read these signals means you stop before things get worse. There are 4 main categories of social cues: facial expressions, which are the most immediate, body language, tone of voice, and personal space. One way to practice reading these signals is to observe the people around you. Try to figure out who's uncomfortable, who's flirting, who wants to end the conversation. This way, you train yourself to recognize common patterns. Trick number 5, direct conversations. One of the biggest reasons people feel awkward in conversations is that they run out of things to say. A powerful way to overcome this is to steer conversations toward familiar topics you know well, or interesting facts from your own life that naturally keep the dialogue flowing. So, what do you usually do on weekends? Just relax. What about you? I actually spend most Saturdays at a boxing gym. Wait, you box? Yeah, my uncle was a semi-pro fighter, so he got me into it when I was a kid. Build a small collection of 3 to 4 anchors covering different parts of your life. Something unusual about your background, a weird hobby, an unexpected skill, or a memorable experience. Test them in real conversations and pay attention to which ones get the best reactions. Trick number 6. Plan what you're going to say. You know that feeling when the words leave your mouth and you immediately realize, I should not have said that. That awkward moment, it's usually preventable, and the solution is simple. Plan what you're going to say before you say it. Having a mental map is like having a social GPS that helps you avoid those awkward moments. Picture this. You're at a friend's birthday dinner and you spot Sarah, who you haven't seen in months. She looks different. Your brain goes, wow, she changed her hair. I should say something. So your mouth blurts out, Sarah, what happened to your hair? It's so short now. The second those words hit the air, you feel it. Everyone stops talking, and the situation becomes awkward. Here's how you avoid that. Before speaking, take a quick mental pause and ask yourself, what am I actually trying to accomplish? In this case, you want to reconnect with Sarah and make her feel good. So instead of reacting on autopilot, your brain gets a chance to think, she changed her hair. What's a positive way to acknowledge this? You wait just 2 seconds, then say, Sarah, so good to see you. That haircut really suits you. Very bold. Of course, always factor in the context and who you're talking to. Consider the setting, your relationship with them, and even their current mood. If you're in a group with 2 people you don't know, skip the risky jokes that might land awkwardly. But if you're with friends, a bit of light humor can help smooth things over. Trick number 7, prepare opening and exit scripts. You know what the worst moment of any social interaction is? That total mental blank when you need to start a conversation. Like when you have no idea how to jump into a group that's already talking. Or worse, when you need to exit without cringing the situation. It was nice talking to you. You're welcome. Bye. The anxious brain hates these transition moments because it doesn't have a script to follow. The solution? Create one yourself. Prepare 3 to 5 openers that work in any context. Not the usual boring questions about the weather, but look for something that generates an interesting response. Like, what's the best thing that happened to you this week? For exits, memorize 2 to 3 lines that close with class. Like, it was really interesting talking about this. I'll let you get back to what you were doing. When you have these scripts ready, you stop wasting cognitive energy desperately searching for the right words to say, and you can finally focus on actually listening to the other person. Trick number 8, telling micro stories. Facts are boring. Opinions can be divisive, but stories? Those always work. You don't have to be Shakespeare. Just take a moment from your life and tell it in 1 or 2 sentences, using a simple narrative structure, like, I did X, but then Y happened. For example, I bought a ticket to Paris, but somehow the plane ended up in London. After an awkward silence, dropping in one of these mini stories can break the ice in a natural way, inviting a chuckle or a follow-up question that gets the conversation rolling again without the cringe. Trick number 9, make the conversation more longer. When you're in a conversation, you don't want to give short answers that stop the flow. How are you? Good. Instead, try to end each of your responses with a follow-up question that encourages the other person to share more. For instance, if they say they're having a busy week, reply with, sounds hectic. What's keeping you on your toes? This simple habit turns quick exchanges into engaging back and forths, building real connection without forcing it. Trick number 10, change your self-talk. There's a voice in your head commenting on every social move you make, and it's probably your worst enemy. When you do something embarrassing, which literally happens to everyone, that voice starts firing off devastating judgments. The problem? These thoughts aren't facts. They're reasoning errors your anxious brain passes off as absolute truth. There's a cognitive behavioral therapy technique called cognitive restructuring designed exactly for this. Here's how it works. When you notice a negative automatic thought, pause and look for concrete evidence that supports it. Then, look for evidence that contradicts it. Based on the evidence, you create a more realistic alternative thought to replace the original negative one. In most cases, you'll realize you're massively exaggerating or making things up that don't exist. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and share your best awkward story in the comments. Bye.